Cool. So we're gonna be trying to get through a lot of stuff today. Hopefully, some of you are cooking along with me. I've done a little bit of kind of like magic for television in terms of prepping a few things. So hopefully, if you have somebody else there with you, you can have them sort of pitch in and chop some stuff or on something while we've got other stuff going on. But yeah, I assume most of you know me. I'm Baber. In a past life, I used to do sort of professional cooking. I did a lot of demos. I was a personal chef for a little while. So we got a lot of stuff to cook. So I'm just gonna dive right in. Most of the time when I do like a not more kind of instruction and question and answers and stuff, I think this time we're just gonna do straight cooking. So hopefully, if there is time at the end, I'll be able to answer some questions and go into some of the detail. But for right now, I just want to get stuff working. So the first thing I want to get started is the grits because they probably are going to take the longest. I'm going to be using my Instant Pot. Grits can be done on the stove. It just takes a lot longer, and you kind of have to put a lot of effort in, constantly stirring them. I was not super impressed with this recipe the first time I did it until I actually read it and followed it through all the way, and it worked perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just stirring and saute on the Instant Pot. Normally, you don't have to do anything to the grits. You can just kind of start cooking them. But in the Instant Pot, you want to give them like a little bit of time and some oil just to kind of heat them up, get them ready. I don't actually, surprisingly, have any bacon fat on hand right now because I've used it all. So I'm just going to use a little bit of oil. And we'll let that get up to temperature. So while that's doing its thing, I want to make these a little bit spicy. So I'm going to add some serranos. You could use a jalapeno, you can use whatever kind of pepper you want, or just, omit it if you don't want it to be spicy. So basically just going to give this a quick little chop here, nothing fancy. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of add some flavor and just pretty little green flecks. I like it pretty spicy, so I'm doing 2 serranos. I've already chopped one up. Again, a little bit of magic for television here. Is somebody saying something? Everybody good? Hear me, see me? Feeling all right? Excellent. I'll take that as a yes. So I had a little bit less than a cup of grits, but it's fine. I'm just going to reduce the volume of liquid for everything else a little bit as well. So go ahead and put the grits in. That's going to do its thing for a couple more minutes. Once it's had a little bit of time to saute, we're going to add the liquid, shut it, put it on pressure, and it's basically going to do everything that we would have to do just automatically. Awesome. The next thing I want to get on the stove is going to be the greens. I've had a really hard time finding turnip greens for this recipe. I don't know why they're so hard to find because you can find turnips almost anywhere, but the greens, they just, I don't know, throw them away or whatever. I love this dish with turnip greens. I've never actually cooked it with anything else, so today I ended up getting mustard greens. We'll see. I assume you could use collard greens or any other kind of like hearty, leafy vegetable. I don't know if like a kale would be good. It would probably take a lot longer to cook just because of how robust or whatever it is. So for this, you're just going to kind of want to like strip away the tough stalky part. Go ahead and get rid of that, or do whatever you'd like. I guess you could put it in some kind of vegetable stock or something. That's not my jam, so I'm just going to compost it. I think I have way too much here. I think the recipe called for like 6 cups, although it did say cooked, so maybe this will be about right. Most of these types of recipes, like they're just kind of guidelines. If you want to add some stuff, you want to remove some stuff, it doesn't really matter. It's going to taste good no matter what. The technique part of it is more important, right? Like we're doing sort of like a stewed or braised greens here. For the grits, it's just like a pretty standard cooking procedure for grits. I guess I kind of want to talk a little bit about the grits. I really like sort of stone ground grits. This is a brand that's pretty easy to find. It's just like Bob's Red Mill. You can use it to make polenta, which is basically like just much firmer grits. Like you can actually make polenta that's so thick you can slice it and grill it. Grits are usually a lot looser. Grits are great. I mean, you can eat them for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Just like a bowl of grits with like a poached egg and some hot sauce is really, really nice. Also, obviously, like the whole shrimp and grits is delicious. You can do a lot of stuff with grits. But again, like normally if you're cooking on the stove, it's a commitment. You got to stand there for almost an hour, maybe 45 minutes, just kind of stirring and making sure they don't scorch or major issues. So this is probably good enough. I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of it since it's here, and probably wouldn't have much other use for this outside of this dish. So the other stuff that's going to go in here is going to be just some tomato, some butter, some garlic, chicken stock. The recipe specifies chili de arbol, which is a pretty specific chili. Doesn't really matter. You can use just chili powder or chipotle powder or whatever you got on hand. Or again, if you don't want it to be spicy, which this dish I think should be spicy. It's kind of just like greens if it's not spicy. You could leave it out, but again, I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and use it. So, got the greens chopped. I think the only other things we need to prep for this is probably onions, garlic, but we'll go ahead and double check that. I always like to try to keep it clean as much as possible. All right, so let's see, we'll do a little garlic. It says half a tablespoon. That seems like not enough. We're going to do that many cloves. I like pre-peeled garlic. Lasts for a pretty good long time. It's way easier than having to peel garlic every single time you want to use it, and it's like pretty cheap. I think that whole container was maybe like $4, $3, which is actually like if you're buying whole garlic, it's not that much more expensive. The Chinese stuff that you can get at like Market Basket is really cheap. It's like suspiciously cheap. It's like $1 for a container that size. So don't know about all that, but don't need to go too crazy on this. Like just like a nice little, stopperoo. All right, so that's probably good. And then I believe there's onion in it. So a cup of chopped onion. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the volume of greens I'm going to have is going to cook down to. So like kind of eyeballing a lot of this. Yeah, like at the end we'll have the ability to tweak it. Maybe add some more chili if it needs it, whatever. So I'm going to dice this onion. If you guys haven't seen me dice an onion before, it's sort of the standard technique. You cut off the end that has the kind of papery root, cut it in half, peel the outside off. It would probably be wise if I go ahead and do all the onion now, but just in the interest of getting this in the pan. Actually, we're going to take a quick commercial break here and finish these grits. So let's see. 3 cups of water, 1.5 cups of milk, salt, pepper. So pepper. Yeah, I said I had a little bit less than a cup of grits, so I'm going to do a little bit less cups of water here. All right. And then a cup and a half of milk. You can use half and half. It'll make it really rich, but do you. 1.5 cups of milk. And then these recipes will always say like, oh, a pinch of salt. No, you need like a lot of salt, unless they just have like gigantic pinches. Who knows? So good deal of salt in there. Close this up. Make sure it's set to seal. Cancel. And what does it say? Is pressure cook for butter. Don't want to forget the butter. Very important. There we go. High 10 minutes. Okay, cool. So this recipe is a little bit deceiving. I think there's actually a note at the end where like you look at the times and you're like, oh, like minutes on high and then 15 minutes resting. Well, it takes like maybe 10 or 15 minutes to actually get the Instant Pot up to temperature. So, it's a little bit deceiving. All right, so the grits are done, or as much as we can do for them now. Let's go ahead and finish up these greens, and then we can start to work on the shrimp cake. So. Onion cut in half, take the peel off. I usually like to do one cut parallel to the cutting board. This one's not strictly necessary, but like it just helps keep the pieces a little bit more even. It's a little bit of a dangerous cut, so if you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. Then whatever size dice you want is the width that you cut here. You don't want to cut all the way through to the end, so you should basically have like a completely intact onion still. And then we're going to turn it and go the other way. And just have like a really nice, even, consistent dice. And again, you always want to keep your fingers tucked. Last thing anybody needs to do right now is go to the hospital. So, if your fingers are tucked, all you can do is nick your knuckle, and that's not going to be too bad. So, plus, you pretty much never want to bring your knife above your hand. So, as long as you're following those safety rules, you're pretty much all set. I mean, obviously, you want to be as careful as you can. Although a lot of people have really dull knives. A dull knife is a really dangerous knife because you end up trying to force it a lot more than you would otherwise. And when you force it, you end up flipping and cutting yourself and having a real bad time. So, all right. Oh, I used the butter for the wrong dish. Cool. Well, we have lots of butter. All right, so go ahead and move over here. That boy on here. Yeah, that seems cool. All right. So let's see. What do we got? Onions, garlic, chili with butter. Superb. So let's do some butter. A little bit of butter. Got our onions in there. Garlic in there. And I couldn't find chili de arbol ground at the store. I do have a bunch of other chili powders, but I was able to find whole arbol chilies, whole dried arbol chilies. So I just ended up kind of blitzing them in a little food processor thing, and so it's probably going to be way spicier than the recipe is supposed to be, but like, not super care. Great. So now we're just going to kind of sweat these a little bit. Don't really need a lot of color. If you want to get them some color, you can. Again, it's kind of whatever. Totally up to you. So we're just going to cook that down a little bit. We're going to add the tomatoes and then the greens, and then we're just going to let it do its thing. The recipe says 15 minutes. Again, I think that's because it assumes that the greens are already cooked. We're going to let it probably go a little bit longer. We're doing pretty good on time. It's only 12:15. Again, I've done a little bit of magic with television stuff, but not too much. So, we should have a couple points here where folks can either catch up or whatever. All right. While that's doing its thing for a couple minutes, we're going to go ahead and start the shrimp cakes. So I've got the shrimp. I did already kind of chop it up. If you haven't done that already, go ahead and start doing that now. These are pretty small shrimp. I think they're like U30s or something. Whenever you see the U on a bag of shrimp, it's essentially how many average there are in a pound. So they're usually like a range. It'll be like U20 to 25s or like U16s are giant shrimp. So that's just like, if you ever wondered what the U was on the bag, that's what that is. I already chopped this up. Doesn't really matter. They don't have to be super fine or super even. It's kind of nice actually to have like a mix of like little tiny pieces and big chunks. It's just going to make it a little bit more interesting. You don't want all giant chunks because then it'll be really difficult for it to stay together. But these are hot peppers. I'm always a big fan of like napalming my entire house with hot chilies. Usually making like Indian food or whatever. Cool. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and put the tomatoes in there. Again, it called for like, I don't know, something like a cup and a half. We're going to do a lot more than that. Yeah, sure. Seems like there's a good amount. Sweet. Okay. So yeah, so the shrimps. Already chopped up the shrimp. I guess I'll go ahead and do another onion. The one sort of fun thing that's part of this is these bell peppers. So I already cut one of them up, but I wanted to keep the other one uncut to show you guys some not really a trick, just like the most efficient way to cut these. So you can kind of see that there's like a divot where the top is. You kind of want to cut like basically right where that divot is, and some people will say like you're wasting a lot here. Like you can end up you can just kind of like cut the top out and use the rest of this. This is perfectly good. Just for sake of ease, I'm just going to not. It'll take a little bit more time. But pull the center out, and you're left with something that looks kind of like an O. If you cut down to the side of one of the ribs, you can kind of like flatten it out like this. Then if you just put your knife flat on the cutting board, you can kind of just cut the ribs out really easily. Again, you want to be kind of careful because you're cutting towards yourself, but make it really, really nice and easy to clean these. So then you end up with just a perfect, sheet. And you can cut this down to size and, cut it into strips. Nice and even. That's looking pretty good. Just about ready to add the greens there. Here the Instant Pot coming up to pressure. Sort of starts to make that like clicking, hissing noise where the little sealing valve is starting to close. So that means we're probably, 5 or so minutes away from it actually starting its pressure cook. The recipe has green bell peppers. You're more than welcome to use those. I just don't like them, so I swapped it for orange and red. And personal preference. So that's how you dice bell pepper. Again, if you wanted to, you could take the tops there and slice them up, and you can go in really easily. Celery, super easy as well. Just cut off, give it a rinse first, cut off the top and the bottom. We probably want pretty small dice, so we're just going to run our knife down this here. For this one, it is kind of nice if the pieces are fairly even. So, the better job you do, the prettier it'll look. You're probably ready for the greens. Hopefully that's not steaming up too much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add the greens to this. It's probably going to take a couple batches just because we have this like massive bowl of greens. But they are going to cook down like a tremendous amount. So maybe we'll add like half and then come back to them in a minute. Just add the stock now. I'm going to kind of let it reduce a little bit or just cook down a little bit before doing that so it's not like incredibly unwieldy. Give it a little stir to help it along. And look, the Instant Pot just kicked off. Yep, there we go. So now that's up to pressure and doing its thing. Cool. So then the last thing that we need to start the shrimp cakes, onion, and deal. Probably could have prepped this one in advance, but here we are. I think actually I just needed a significantly smaller portion of onion, so oh yeah, I have way too much veg for this, so probably just mix this all up and use a portion of it. It's a little bit smaller than the other one, just so that we're not like make these onion in these. We couldn't do that. It just all right. So plenty of onion. Again, this is way too much. This should be like less than a cup total, and it's much more like I don't know, 2 cups, 2.5 cups. So I'll just use a little bit of it. That for something else later. That's like a pretty standard base. Bell peppers and onions and celery. So won't have too much difficulty finding a recipe that can use that. All right. So those greens are nice and cooked. Go ahead and add the rest of these, and then it'll probably be pretty safe to add the stock. Cool. So that's just chicken stock. So that's not an entire quart, but close to it, 3/4 of it. Get this container open. Feels like about 3/4. All right, cool. So that is now going to be doing its thing for a little while. I'll probably turn the heat down on that a little bit. Doesn't need to be going too crazy. Actually, no. We'll keep the heat up so that it can get back to a boil. And this might want some more stock. We'll check on that. All right. So for the shrimp cake veg, we're going to saute them first. I picked a little bit too big of a pan for the amount that I'm actually going to saute, so go ahead and switch that. And I'm going to bump this guy to the back burner over here. Oh. Over here. All right, so now this pan is on. I think we're just going to saute that with some butter. Yep. So again, a little bit of butter. We'll go with a tablespoon or so. Again, probably about a cup of this veg. About right, maybe a little more. I don't think I've added any salt yet to this these greens, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Again, you want a fair bit. The stock's going to reduce down a little bit, so you don't want to go too crazy. I mean, you can always add more stock later, but probably preferable not to go overly heavy right now. This is also going to need some salt, so go ahead and add that. Cool. Okay, so that's sauteing. I think while that's doing its thing, we're going to go ahead and do the next couple steps for it. So I think we're going to, let's see. We're going to add the shrimp. We're going to cook those a little bit. Add some parsley, salt, Worcestershire, Tabasco, breadcrumbs, and then let them cool. So the only thing I don't have ready is the parsley. So we'll go ahead and get that going. So nothing really fancy here. It's like, what does it say? Tablespoon. So, just cut off a chunk of it. If there's any big stems, you can just discard those. But otherwise, like, you're just going to chop it up, so it's not matter. And then just kind of, run your knife through it. There's no fancy trick here, really. Make it as small as you want. I would try to, basically make sure each leaf gets cut at least, twice. You don't want all leaves in there, but it doesn't have to be super duper, all perfectly fine chopped even. Yeah, this is just going in the mix, so mostly just there for color and that little bit of parsley flavor. So. So those are almost good. This is boiling. We can turn it down. All right, go ahead and add the shrimp. Well, no, we're going to give this another minute or two. We want to make sure that this gets cooked enough because once we make the cakes, this isn't going to like really get cooked too much more. Okay, so putting in there. Maybe just wash our hands again. Make fun of these. Cool. All right, so we're at about half an hour, which we're looking really good on time. All we've got to do now is finish the shrimp cakes, make the shrimp cake sauce. So this is just about good. We'll go ahead and add our shrimps. I think the only thing we need to do for the shrimp other than this is chop up some green onion, which is going to go in the sort of mix. So we can go ahead and do that while those cook. So let me just off to the side here. Whenever I'm scraping a cutting board with a knife, I always use the backside. Use the blade that you see a lot of people do. It will end up dulling your blade, which nobody likes. Yeah, this said, I think one scallion, which seems really dumb, so I'm going to do 3. It also said finely sliced, which is pretty standard for scallions. Basically, for these, I pulled sort of, if they're kind of gross and old, you can kind of pull the outside layer off, and they're usually pretty nice on the inside. These are also really nice to grow. They will come back every year, and you can keep snipping them off with scissors and leaving the root in the ground, and they'll just keep growing back over and over again. I guess we get. They're not quite big enough yet this year because I've used them, but they're coming. So again, just like nice thin slice on this. Again, it's not super important. But it's like perfectly even or beautiful or whatever, because it's just going to go on these. And again, like even 3 scallions is not very much. So 1 scallion. So you just kind of cut up until you get close to the dark green. You, of course, just drag the blade of my knife across the cutting board, like I said not to do. Again, I try to avoid it. Sometimes it happens. Cool. So these shrimp, we don't need to cook them totally. Like if we get them most of the way there, they will cook just the tiniest bit when we do finally cook the cakes. So a little bit more time on these. Greens are looking good. At some point in the near future here, I might taste these. Hopefully they'll be delicious. The grits sounds like they just finished up, so that's like 10 minutes or something. 15 minutes. They're going to hang out there, and then we're going to release it and add the cheese and taste them. So all we have to do left is make the shrimp cakes, or assemble the shrimp cakes, fry them up, and make the shrimp cake sauce. So we can go ahead and start making the sauce. Well, I guess it's going to be hard to see, huh? Over here. Okay, well, we can wait. Hello.
Hi.
Our guests of honor just arrived. Alimania. Okay, so those shrimp are pretty much good to go. There's a lot more liquid in this pan than I'm kind of happy about. Like, you kind of want these to be not like dry, but this is going to be pretty wet, so I might actually pour off some of this liquid, or just let some of it cook down. See what it says. Oh, I forgot to parsley, salt, Worcestershire, Tabasco. So let's do that now. So, parsley. We've already added the salt, so Worcestershire and Tabasco. And Tabasco sauce, very helpful. So just, a little splashy dash. You always want to shake up. I did it beforehand, but you always want to shake up your Worcestershire because like a lot of the stuff, all the good stuff gets trapped at the bottom. All right, so that's probably good. I think I am going to drain off some of that, but. All right, so actually, maybe some of this liquid is going to be good, but I'm going to pour a little bit off. Okay, so we poured some of the liquid off, so there's like maybe that much left. It will bind up with the breadcrumbs, but like if it's too liquidy, it's just they're gonna fall apart when I try to fry them. So this should be good. All right, so we're gonna transfer this to a bowl. Yeah, sure, she can hang out, right? And like if people are bored with the cooking, then they can just watch Ellie. So, all right, cool. So while that kind of cools a little bit, probably the worst. We're gonna go ahead and make a sauce for the shrimp cakes. So that's gonna just be like kind of a wine chipotle cream sauce, which is impossible for that not to be delicious. So, again, we're gonna start with some butter. Reasonable. Charlie is devastated that he's not part of the show. How liquidy were these in the past? Were they like just a little bit of liquid, or like is that about right?
It's like a lot.
Like more than that.
Yeah, I remember more than that.
We're gonna add some more chicken stock. Okay, so the chipotles for this are just chipotles in adobo, which is just like a canned thing you can get. I always recommend having like a bunch of these in your cabinet because you can make like a spicy chipotle mayo or a whole bunch of different things with it, and they pretty much never go bad, or at least in the time frame that you might conceivably use them. The recipe calls for 2. We're gonna add 4. Why not? Then the wine, it's kind of just whatever white you have. I got some sort of Sauvignon Blanc for it. Pretty much doesn't matter. I wouldn't necessarily use something too like oaky or sweet, but pretty much any dry white wine will be great. A bit more. Cool. It says to add whole sprigs of thyme. You end up blending this, so that seems kind of crazy because thyme has really.
Brian says all the messages are saying just move the camera to Ellie. We don't need to see Andrew anymore.
Great, that's fine. That doesn't make me feel bad at all. Okay.
Hi. He said she is the guest of honor.
All right. So, anyways, I'm just gonna pull the leaves off of this because the leaves get blended. That's totally fine, but the stalks would just be weird. Smelling quite good. No really good trick to taking the leaves off time. Sometimes it's easy and you can kind of just like pull down and they come off, but most of the time that's not the case. All right, so I think so. We're doing pretty good actually. We still got 20 minutes, and all we have to do pretty much is finish this sauce and finish the shrimp cakes, and pretty good. Okay, so cream and butter, more butter. 2 ounces of butter. Nice. All right, so cream. That wasn't quite a cup, so I guess we'll add some more. We've always had way too much cream sauce, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We're not gonna add any more of that. We are gonna add more butter though, because again, there's no way that's not gonna be good. I don't know. I hope so. Bring to the boil, remove the heat. Great. All right, so this is pretty much done. See how this is going. Not so quite hot. Probably should have used a. Not too late to put it on a plate. Oh, hello.
Let me see where she should go in the frame. About right there.
So, just for the sake of cooling this off, I'm just going to put this on a plate. Great. All right, so this is just about there. Shrimp cakes. Let's go ahead and give the greens. All right, so they're spicy. You're going to need some more time. Oh, they're very spicy. Oh boy. Nice. Nailed it. All right, so the sauce, just about a boil. Oh, this is spicy. Nice. Oh. It'll
It'll melt.
It'll melt. All right, so a little bit of salt in there. Did I already add salt to this? I don't think so. I could, like, if you click in the chat, there's 124 comments apparently.
Did you some of them?
Sure.
Oh gosh, there's a lot. That fruit basket, though.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and blend up the sauce. Here's a fancy blender. Yeah. All right. I found spice now.
That fruit basket is incredible. I knew you were going to get a lot of comments on the fruit basket.
All right, so we're just gonna pour this in a blender.
Does Baber deliver?
Sometimes. Marble it only.
Because Brian's the only one in luck.
And this is gonna be really loud. Sorry. Nope. Sauce is done. Grits are almost done.
Rafa says, I think I've been undersalting everything for my entire life after seeing Baber put a Dead Sea's worth of salt in there. I wasn't hungry for lunch, but thankfully this is fixed.
You want to try that? See if it has no salt. Okay. So this should be cool enough now. I'm gonna go ahead and dump this back in here.
Oh yeah, plenty. Ooh, it's spicy. It's
That's spicy?
Yeah. Why is that spicy?
I have 4 Chipotles. We want to that too. All right, so I believe this is called for panko inside and regular breadcrumbs outside, even though it wasn't terribly specific. So we're going to try that. I think that's what I've done in the past, and it's worked pretty well. So it does say to do it half a cup at a time, and then just until they hold together, which is correct. So because they're panko, it's going to soak up a lot more liquid. I might have a shrimp too big. Might not actually turn into a shrimp.
Look at him. There's so much egg.
So when I dumped out all that liquid, I might have actually shot myself in the foot here. We'll see.
Fig says, if they're both saying how spicy it is, I would be deceased. R.I.P. Fig. What if we don't have a blender, let alone a fancy blender?
Yeah, you could, well, you could use if you have no blending device whatsoever, I mean, you could use a food processor, you could use a stick blender, you could use basically any blendy type thing. If you don't have any blendy type thing, then maybe just, I don't know, strain everything out and go from there. Okay, so these are kind of forming a little bit. They are going to be kind of loose because they pour off too much liquid.
Could you use a Cuisinart, like a food processor?
Yeah, food processor would be fine. So these are supposed to be like 4 ounce roughly, which is about a little bit smaller than hockey puck size. It will take a bit of work to get them to kind of stay together if you chop the shrimp too large like I did. But don't be lazy. What time? 15.
They want to see a picture of the behind the scenes setup. Is there any way I can do that?
Picture of the behind the scenes setup.
Like if I took it with my camera. Is there a way
Yeah.
to post it in here?
Yeah. Like text it to Facebook. Okay. So while I form these, I guess I do have time for questions. All we've got left to do is cook off these shrimp cakes and try our grits to make sure that came out okay. Oh. Okay. So yeah, lesson learned, don't dump out the liquid. All right, so this is been 15 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and release the pressure on that. I'm gonna try to bring it over here so you guys can see what it looks like because for anybody who's made grits, this is gonna look totally wrong when I first open it. Then very quickly it will look very correct. Tasting, and we go ahead and press these.
And Cook appreciates your apron.
Okay.
Veggies, what are the veggies?
Okay.
Can you explain what the veggies are in there?
In the shrimp cake,
Yeah.
it's onion, celery, and bell pepper, and a little bit of green. Yeah.
Guys, I'm right behind.
These are going to fall apart a little bit in the pan. But, you know, never mind. This is supposed to sit for 10 minutes, but we don't really have time for that, so not. Okay. So,
Sit to what? Just
yeah. All right, so this is what the grits look like, which, again, it looks insanely wrong. But as soon as you start stirring them, oh, did it completely fog up?
like, the baby's here, the show is started. Away.
And you can see how quickly these turn into what look like very normal grits. So we can go ahead and, oh, also the grits are spicy. So.
THYM.
Oh yeah. All right, so we add the cheese to the grits, mix that in, and those are going to be done. Excellent. Bye.
Hi, Steve.
Those are delicious. I'll do a little bit more salt. And then we're going to go ahead and fry up the shrimp cakes.
He doesn't have a blender, can you?
Yes. And of course, we're going to cook the shrimp cakes in butter because why not?
Nick Monteforte accurate. Brian doesn't cook, he just goes over to Vader's training meals.
That's a fact.
When Baber washes his hands and looks out the window, is Brian standing there waving?
All right.
Brendan said I put a frozen pizza in the oven before dialing in, and now I'm just sad.
Hey, it's going to be delicious, okay?
Tommy Lee says, I'm currently eating DiGiorno as I weep. Thank you, Brian. And good. Ellie doesn't really like spicy food. I found that out the hard way when I thought she was literally dying. I thought she was choking, and I tried to give her the Heimlich, but really it was just spicy broccoli.
That was classic. So again, this isn't really like to cook these. This is just to like make them pretty and give them some color. So it doesn't need to be too crazy here. It's going to take a couple minutes per side, and then we'll plate it up, and we'll be done.
No, and washing. Washing. Ellie has made such a mess.
Good. She made this. We can our kitchen.
That is my turn to work this afternoon.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's excellent. So just give these a little flipperoo. Yeah. Use a little bit more time. Also a little bit more oil. This is probably too big of a pan, but here we are. Give it a try. Oh yeah. Still spicy. Still got it. You can just throw them on the stove. Yeah, some of these smaller ones are starting to fall apart a little bit. Oh boy. And by some of the smaller ones, I mean most of these. Oh yeah. So yeah, don't pour off that liquid, guys. I know that seemed smart at the time, but still gonna taste good. They're just falling apart because there was not enough liquid to hold them together. Don't think the rest of the other. Okay. It could be good to hold them together. It would make them a little bit cakier, but it's still probably pretty good. Oh my god, your thing is full. Classic. All right, so in just a minute here, this is going to be done. Oh, all right, so I'm going to turn the heat down on that. Go ahead and use make one like pretty one. They're all done. Okay. That one and oh yeah, that one. Oh, don't fall apart. And then this will be this will be mine. Oh yeah. So we can get these out of here.
Ellie's favorite food is Indian, but it's paneer, which is not usually spicy. And yes, Caitlin, my reaction was that I wasn't here for the first half. Please take a picture of Baber, like cooking, an action photo. And look at me.
They're gonna have the final dish too.
Oh, hold on, let me get you.
The plating could be improved, but here we are.
Lovely.
So yeah, so this kind of what we ended up with here. Again, the plating could have been nicer. Just wanted to be done before time. Anyways, that's that. So how many of you are completely done with all three dishes? Go ahead. This one's yours.
Thank you.
Then Brian, you're coming over now to clean up, right? Great.
Rich Hoyt says an attempt. Promo says the house was ruined. Brian, what do you want me to reread? What did I miss? Action photo of the hard. At the garnish. Emma says, thank you.
The garnish? What garnish?
Tommy Lee says, forgot the garnish. Don't know.
Yeah, I could have sprinkled the parsley on there or something. You know what? There's no time.
Brian said it over.
Great. That's good. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining. Super fun. If we do another one, which I hope we will, we'll try to have more Ellie time, I guess. And I'll try to do something that's a little bit less involved.
Do crowdsource what they want you to make.
That's a good idea. We can do a crowdsource idea all thing. Awesome. Well, that'll do it. Thank you guys for joining. 3 minutes early. I guess I could answer questions if there's more questions. I haven't even looked at this at all.
I don't see any.
Same time next week. Love it. It did mellow out the greens.